Alright guys, welcome back. We have a 2010 model Ford Falcon again. This car coming with a problem of lack of power. Basically just no power at all. You can't even rev it properly, so I'll try to rev it and you guys can maybe hear it or feel it. See, I can't even rev it. It's just really hard to rev. It's trying to backfire and splutter and you know, carrying on. So definitely doesn't feel like a misfire. It feels like more like it's not getting enough fuel in my opinion. Yeah, I'm trying to rev it, but it just doesn't want to rev. So when I have a problem like this, I usually just want to look at the oxygen sensor data, see if there's a fuel issues here. So I'm on live data for this vehicle. Let's go down and we'll probably look for oxygen sensors. Oxygen sensors, bank 1, bank sensor 1, sensor 2. Maybe also look for short-term, long-term fuel trim. We'll select that. Also we wanna maybe see short-term as well. Let's select all that. All right, now let's have a look at this here. Okay. If you look on the oxygen sensor, bank 1, sensor 1 at the top, doesn't look too bad at idle. It looks alright. It's doing its job, looks like it. On bank 1, sensor 2, the second one, you see it's sitting at 0.8. It looks pretty good. At idle, long-term fuel trim, however, looks like it's trying to add fuel, 20%. And on a short term, this is again the Ford Falcon, how they do it. How they do it. So I think 0 is the ideal place where they want to be. To be honest, I'm not too sure how they work, but we'll just focus on the long term for now anyway. So definitely looks like it's trying to add fuel. So it looks like it's trying to add fuel. If you look on the long-term fuel trim on the third one, but oxygen sensor looking good. Let's rev the car up and see what it does. Alright, it's when you're revving up, it looks alright. All the data looking pretty good. Can't really see much there. Let's load the engine. Let's put it in drive and do the same test. Handbrake up, put on the brake in drive, and we'll watch this oxygen sensor data. Alright, I'm revving the car and you can see the oxygen sensor is pretty much 0, both oxygen sensors. Okay, let me go back. So both oxygen sensor looking like it's going very lean. To me it suggests it's got a fuel pressure issue. To be honest, it's not enough fuel pressure for this engine. Let me try again. like it's trying to backfire and, you know, misfire and all that happening under the bonnet. But yeah, basically, yeah, it's stuck in very lean when you're revving the car under load. I think what I want to do now, probably put a fuel pressure gauge and see what the fuel pressure is doing in this car. Alright guys, I got the fuel pressure gauge on, engine idling. It's sitting about 18 psi, which to me looks very low for this engine. I hope you guys can read that and see that. 20 psi, so it's definitely looking like the fuel pressure is very low. Fuel pump access, you can get it from the rear seats. Under the rear seat, just take the seats off, pretty easy. Take the cover off, and right there is all your fuel pump and all that.
Before we jump the gun, sorry, we're gonna have to make sure that our fuel filter is not blocked. It could give you a low fuel pressure at the engine. So on this engine, the fuel filter is between the tank and the engine, underneath the car. So just to eliminate that possibility, we're gonna quickly take the fuel line off here, and we're gonna check the fuel pressure right at the fuel pump. The tool we're gonna use is the little special tool for the fuel disconnection. So just the one going towards the engine. Usually the one going towards the engine is gonna be a bigger pipe than the return. So there's a return and there's your input. All right, we're just gonna disconnect that real quick. We're gonna push that tool in there and push in and out. Can be difficult sometime. There you go. Okay, now we're gonna get that off, and we're gonna hook up our fuel pressure gauge. All right guys, I have my little setup here for the fuel gauge. Let's see if this one works. That, and we'll just put our pressure gauge here. Okay, all right, I'll let you guys see the gauge here, and I'm just gonna go and start the car. What we got here is again 20 psi, same reading as we were seeing at the front. So there is no difference on pressure here. So what that means is fuel filter is not our problem. So the problem is inside the tank. It could be just a bad pump, could be leaking on one of the pipes coming out of the fuel pump, just the bypassing. There's a lot of variables there, but knowing that this fuel pump, you can't just replace it. And most of the time they're plastic pipes inside, so you can't really do much there. You can replace it with a normal hose if it's a leaking pipe, but most of the time it's just best to just change the whole thing. They're not very expensive anymore, so that's what we're gonna do. But before we go ahead and do that, what I want to do here quickly is also check our powers and ground. Okay, so on this design we got pink wire and we got a black wire. There's 4 wires here. There's a yellow and a black as well, so they're the thin wires. The thicker wires, 2 thick wires, pink and the black, it's more than likely gonna be our fuel pump, power and earth. Okay, we're gonna have to make sure we don't have any voltage drops, bad earth or anything like that. So we're simply gonna just put a meter there and see what sort of voltage we're getting there. Alright, we're just gonna use a multimeter, and I'm gonna just back probe the 2 wires, pink and the red, the thick wires, with just a bent probe we got here. You guys can see that. I got 12.94 volts. Almost 13 volts, so more than likely the problem is not gonna be our power supply on earth. We got plenty of good voltage there. So that's it, guys. We're gonna have to go in there and probably replace that. I recommend we can always go in there and try to figure out what's going on there, you know what I'm saying, but I'm not gonna waste my time. Look, I'm just gonna replace the whole thing. Alright guys, we're gonna change this fuel pump assembly quickly. Alright, let's just get this the electrical connectors off. Out the way. That one's already off, so we're gonna get this other one off now. Using a similar tool, just a smaller size for fuel disconnection. So we're just gonna push in and pull out at the same time. Can be sometimes a little bit hard. There you go. One's off. We're just gonna set everything aside, make some room here, and it's got this locking sort of plate, so we're just gonna use old school, just a screwdriver hammer. Before you take this off, usually it's always good to just blow it with a bit of air, just the dirt and the rocks around it. This one looks pretty clean. Okay, now just put this aside. I'm trying to get this plate out. Okay, that's a locking plate. Screw on. All right, put that aside, and that's your fuel pump there. And underneath here you have this wire that goes on inside the tank somewhere. I think it's for the fuel gauge. For some reason it's not the part of the fuel pump assembly, it's separate inside the tank, so we're just gonna undo that plug. This plug here, gotta unhook from the fuel pump, make sure it goes in after we put the new one in. And there you have it, guys. See, this one doesn't have the level float for some reason yet. Okay, so fuel pump, everything is inside there. What I was talking about earlier is this pipe here, if you can see it or not. See this pipe here? That comes from the pump onto our outlet port there. Sometimes this pipe can have a hole. It's just bypassing fuel, as in pushing fuel out as the pump trying to pump the fuel towards the engine. You can always put it in the bucket of water, turn the pump on, see if anything leaks. But for this one, I'm just gonna change the whole thing. All right, that's a new one. Looks the same. Just under here, that's where the plug goes in for that fuel gauge. That's inside the tank at the moment. Okay, just give it a quick clean here. So we're just gonna use the rubber here, this green rubber around the seal, around the neck of the tank. The pump didn't come with the new seal, so we're just gonna have to reuse that. Okay, let's see what kind of pressures we get here now. Alright, the engine revs good now. No hesitation, no puffing, no misfiring. And we're sitting about 30 PSI. And I have checked the specs on this Ford. It's around 30-35 at idle. So there you have it, guys. Okay, well, we got the fuel pressure hooked up. Let's just quickly have a look at our fuel data on the computer. Alright, let's have a look. So idle was fine before too. It probably take time to correct our fuel trim. See how the fuel trim, long-term fuel trim, is coming down rapidly. 16, 15, 14, it's coming down. It's correcting the fuel trim itself. We'll just wait and see what it does. Alright, 11, 10. It's definitely coming down, guys. The fuel trim is correcting itself. All right. let's just do a power. Let's load this engine and see what it does. We'll just check our oxygen sensor data. I'm on the hoist, that's why it's I think slipping. The rear wheels are not locking up. Let's try again. See how the long term see how the oxygen sensor bank 1, sensor 2 is just functioning just fine, not like going to lean like before. And our fuel trim is still coming down, 7. If you give it some time, guys, you'll come down, but 7 is already good enough for me anyway. So that's a fix, guys. I'm gonna wrap this video up. Fuel pump causing lack of power and hesitation on a Ford Falcon 2010 model.